Welcome back. It's going to be a different episode. Well, it's the same episode. It's just a continuation of the episodes. I am in my other vehicle today, so you'll have a different perspective on it. But I am making good of time that I have while I'm out. I am hoping that my Bluetooth also works with this. But anyway. All right. Well, talking about realities, right? It's today's episode. So, what reality do you want? I will tell you that if you're unaware that you have choice over reality you live in, then you are likely to be just more of a victim of circumstance, or you'll just take whatever life hands or gives you. If what you have a goal to accomplish isn't currently something that you have already accomplished, and it's not something you're currently working, with a very structured direction on. I'm not a big fan of leaving things up to chance. Chance has role, has value in accomplishing certain things in your life. It has value. But I'm not one that really likes to gamble too much. So I will reduce the amount of chance as much as I can. I like to tell people that hope is desire without structure. Well, I really don't like to use hope that much. When it's appropriate, I use it. I don't avoid it because I don't want to use the word. I don't use it as much, and I don't like using it as much if I actually have something more of a plan. But when that comes up in its earnest position, in its truest form, I'm not, I don't chastise myself for it. I say there's something here to look into. So when the word hope is in my conversation, it just means that I have a desire, an attachment, and I have a limited amount of structure to be successful with it. So little that I actually would rather use the word hope instead of whatever actions are necessary in the order that are necessary to be taken in on average. I prefer to even go as far as that. All right, so realities. If you have the ability, you can recognize that you actually have a reality that you've created, that you've been given. A combination of the two is what you're currently present to. Opportunities that will show up when you're aware of that is that you can do something about that. You can say that my reality will be moving forward, that I be successful in X, whatever X is. Could be, again, the easy ones are typically money or relationship. I'll go with money for today. That is my common default. It's very universal. Nearly everyone get the concept of currency and exchange and the accumulation of wealth, or how much you can accumulate to make your lifestyle a little bit more comfortable is typical of the approach to money. There's also the validation of importance and placement in history, society, and things like that too, that money can give you some degrees of validation. So the changing a reality can be, okay, what's your goal? Like for myself, one of my goals is to create a education, a curriculum that will guide people to new levels and new opportunities in their life, and guide them strategically towards their goals. If I lived in my old reality, which was not really a whole lot of functionality to it other than the desire that I do such a thing. But then I had to start learning things, but then I had to grant myself permission to be able to make such an impact. And there's qualifiers along the way, but I'm actually shifting my reality. And once you get shifted, you have a structure that you have used to be successful to where you currently are. But where you want to go requires that structure also be supported. You have to develop the structure in order to be successful in the long run in whatever those goals are, against where you currently are. So if you're used to having $1,000 in your bank account, and you want to have $1 million in your bank account, well, there's going to be actions and discipline necessary to achieve that you currently are not likely to have accumulated enough of. You can reinforce some of the skills that are necessary to be there. You already do have. You just have to reinforce them, give them values and importance in whatever your position is, and its relation to you and your daily living. Validate, and then you can utilize that with awareness that you can develop that. You just figure out what environmental stimulus do I need in order to put this into action so I can strengthen it and make it more functional. Oh, yeah. I'm sounding nasally, like I might be getting sick again. Interesting. Anyway, okay. So, with that, shift the reality that you want to live in. If your reality is, now here's some interesting things about it. You know, they say fake it till you make it. That's actually this. This is the, you know, the reality thing, except I don't want to create the concepts of faking anything. Now, the opportunity to test things out, to run them into a reality. You know, if you feel you're not as assertive of a person and you wish that you'd be more assertive, or you would like to become more assertive, you have to create opportunities to challenge your current state of assertiveness so that you can strengthen it. You have to create opportunity, simplicity of it, right? So, same thing with, you know, courage is typically associated with assertiveness. You have to be courageous enough to speak up, and then carry through the process of, you know, being more assertive. There's several things that you need to do in order to establish those new patterns or to grow those patterns. Also look to what you consider the cost-benefit values of being assertive. Your environment right now might dictate that you become more assertive because you recently had a situation where you should have spoke up. You wanted to speak up. It's the should have based off your own criticisms of yourself. And then that creates the need to want to develop that particular skill or that particular trait of yourself. So it's short term because you're just really driven to see the importance of it because of a recent event. Well, you also have long-term association with things where you're like, you know what, this is something that I do and want to get developed in me. It's a particular trait. Let's say again, it's assertiveness, but it's the long-term value that you're actually after. You want that because you see how your goals long-term require that you speak up for yourself often, and it's not centered around a specific event. Now, a specific event might help you associate the need, but you also have more examples or experiences in your life that tell you that you do have to try. You have to work towards this. So those are variables with it. As far as developing yourself, figure out where it is. That's where you can start with, you know, it's not really start there, but support a new reality, you know, a new paradigm of thinking. That reality doesn't mean that, you know, tomorrow the sky's purple. You know, but then again, you might get, you know, purple lens glasses, and therefore, now it is true, specific to you, but not to the rest of humanity. But realities of the way that you behave, the way that you pilot this body, the way that you live your life, they really do well when you can put them into a category with progress and change and opportunities. Shifting your reality. If you want to get to find a partner that you really think would be deeply in love with you, and you back to them, then you have to start shifting things. If you're typically sitting around at the bar hoping that this person will extend, but it's the only place that you really utilize as your dating atmosphere, opportunities to meet, but yet other aspects of your life are you doing volunteer work and studying, great discipline, being very focused with work and being career oriented, all these things. It's you going to a bar starts to separate itself from the other traits, as finding somebody in the bar that actually meets all of the same disciplines and values that you hold will become harder to find. You're increasing the potential of a lottery situation, because typically what you get is people with specific patterns go and hang out at the bar for a very frequently. Methods that they use to cope with life and reality, things like that. So it's their reality is this, and then yours is this other, and then you meet somebody that you find mutual, or you both have mutual attraction, but then you you have all the other aspects that come into relationships that start to be, they correlate, they connect, or they start bumping up against each other or become antagonistic of each other. So your reality of trying to find that ideal relationship is in contrast to the majority of your life with the one place that you choose to go and exercise an outlet to potentially meet somebody. I'm not saying you can't meet somebody at the bar that lines up with you very well in 8 different areas, which is very, very hard to find somebody that lines up with you in all 8 areas that has their own autonomy and not just blending for chameleon purposes and things. But it's so beneficial if you're talking about that relationship in the intimate sense of interrelationships, that you line up in all 8 areas in some variation of associated understanding, and preferences and things of that nature in those categories. I enjoy these things, and then you have trait values for humor. And, you line these things up looking for an ideal relationship, then you realize that your reality of hanging out at the bar for that type of person, if you have the other disciplines and things developed in you, as I mentioned before, you're probably better off putting in the effort to meet somebody through religious organizations or through humanitarian efforts, things like that, because their overall values are going to be similar to yours, unless you want somebody who is completely contrasting who you are, or has a higher degree of contrast against you, to who you are and how your patterns are, your psychology, if you will, overall of who you are. You have options when it comes to that. It's completely up to you. You need to know what you want to accomplish. Definitions matter. Actions follow understanding. You can have action before understanding, but this is just reaction to something typically versus a proactive thing. But if you really want to elicit change, strategy and depth of awareness are the bigger key factors. All right, that's about it for today's episode. Hopefully you were able to hear me through this, because this is another one of those tests to see if the Bluetooth or the phone pick up well in this particular vehicle. So thank you for your time. We're all out to develop. We really are. To some degree, it's just a lot of times our focus is very singular or very superficial or not very well thought out. And you get mixed results when that's the case, or you keep getting contrast results where something that you want to come out of your efforts keeps turning into something else, and that's something opposite of what your actual goal is, your cognitive goal. But that could be because of the traits you have established that support whatever it is that you've been doing and how those are linked and function to your goals. So if you want to find healthy relationships, keep meeting up with people that turn into the villain in your stories, when people talk to you and get to know you, or as they care for you in your current established relationships, whatever that is for you, you'll see that those people, if that's the case, they typically do show up that way, because it really comes back to you, but you're just not aware of the depth of the patterns that are creating such an outcome. So start working on these areas, you'll become aware of what your behaviors are and really overall who you are. So, all right, till next time. Again, this is Sir Chad Everett Broshears to some, Chad Everett Broshears to the majority. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your effort. Putting in a little bit of work every day does change the world. 1% a day changes the entire world in a very short period of time. So, well, let's get to it. Let's get busy. We got plenty of work to do, but let's get started on ourselves. Okay? Catch you next.